All right, hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Grokopedia. As you can see, currently ranked 331st in the world as a contributor with a 56% approval rate. Not too great. It's been tanked. I was trying to get something approved that was very difficult. Had to change a lot of outside stuff. But anyways, guys, today we're going to be talking about why you and all your clients, all your businesses, all your entities, etc., should have their own Grokopedia page. And so today we're running you through some of the stuff I've done. As you can see, I have 44 pages that I have personally have created within Grokopedia. And so just to start it out, the cool thing about Grokopedia is that when you have a page, it interlinks between other entities, terms, pages, etc. that are related to you. So for example, dunk contests. I've done a lot of dunk contests, so it links to the page about dunk contests. But more importantly for you, it links to your other entities. So the Dunk Talk podcast is the podcast to run. And as you can see, it links to the Dunk Talk podcast. And then on here, of course, there's more links to other related people such as Jordan Kilgannon and Isaiah Rivera, really big people in the dunking world. And even more down here, Lobosura Spotlight, Dennis Yu. So the cool thing about Grokopedia is that when you suggest an article up here, it is scraping the internet, finding everything it can about you, your businesses, the people you work with, the companies you've worked for, etc., and turning it all into one definitive article or encyclopedia entry, just like Wikipedia, except it's a lot easier to get an article than it is on Wikipedia. And so a client example of this, I've got quite a few that I've created here. So for example, if it ever works. So for example, we've got David Meerman Scott, not a client, but someone we work with closely. Tommy Mello, someone we work with closely. Joe Crisara, Sam DeMayo. We'll go down here to Dr. Hugh Flax. So this is a dentist client we work with, cosmetic dentist, owns Flax Dental in Atlanta, Georgia. And he has done a lot of really cool stuff. And he at one point was the president of the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry. And so as you can see, he's done a lot, very credible within the space. And so this is a great example of one that was created. It has all the information about him. It's even got some links outwards to some of his assets, and it also mentions his business. And so this is very helpful because this is going to be something that is going to show up under his knowledge panel and stuff like that as Grokopedia expands and starts to rank and stuff like that. And so we want to have one of these and then as well as a company page for each client. And so as you can see, I've failed quite a few times now to get the Flax Dental Grokopedia page because it believes, Grokopedia keeps saying that this topic is already being processed or was recently created. And it's specifically talking about the article about Dr. Hugh, which doesn't entirely make sense because obviously the entity of Dr. Hugh and the entity of Flax Dental are different, but it doesn't recognize like that. So you do have to mess with the wording a bit to make sure maybe don't mention Dr. Hugh, don't mention the client's name, just talk about the business and what it is and stuff like that. But we want both of these created. So I have gotten multiple for businesses such as the 23 League, which is the basketball league in Minnesota, the Dunk Camp, Team Flight Brothers, etc. And so we really want to get these articles made for people. And so to do it, you can hit the button up here, which says suggest article, or you can just search the person's name. So let's just say, for example, I'm trying to think of someone who I don't believe has a knowledge panel, or sorry, not a knowledge panel, a Grokopedia page. I might've said that a couple times, but like Marco, to my knowledge, he does not have one yet. So it's going to show up as request this article. So I always like to check first because sometimes the person will have a Grokopedia page. Like when I came on here for the first time, already had one. I believe Dennis requested it for me. And so what you can do is search your name, see if you already have one, or search the client's name, see if they already have one. And then if not, hit request this article. And it's pretty simple here. There's really only two things you need to do because Grok is going to search the internet and find generally what it needs to create the article. But all you need is the article topic, which is going to be the person's name or the business's name, and then additional details. So for example, on this one, we want to mention his businesses and anything that you think is going to be super relevant for that client and something that you really think the article / encyclopedia entry should mention specifically. And so if you really think it should mention his expertise in Facebook ads, mention that, and then it will search and find things that are for that. And then once you're done with that, hit submit suggestion. And then once it gets accepted, which a lot of them do, as long as there's plenty of stuff out there. If not, obviously get more stuff out there. But then once it is done and completed, you can read through the article and see if anything is messed up. So if any of the information is incorrect, you definitely want to fix that. Another specific example of something that is pretty easy to fix generally is the linking. So sometimes it will forget to link. So for example, Sterling Lawyers here, I believe there's a Grokopedia page for this, but it's not showing up. And so you could say suggest edit and then say this should be linked to Sterling Lawyers Grokopedia page and then add the link. Or this one down here, this is an example of a link that got messed up. So there actually is a Rocket Clicks Grokopedia page, but the link that is showing is messed up. It should be this. There's just no underscore. And those are some really easy suggestions you can make. I would go back to here, hover over, oh, missed it. Hover over this, say suggest edit, and then say update link to dot, etc. Submit edit. And then once you submit the edit, you can always go to your activity here to see the things you've done, and it will show in the total edits. So as you can see, here's an example of one. I said link to Grokopedia/page/Dunk Talk podcast. So when we go to Bishop's thing here, we go to media exposure, it links to the Dunk Talk podcast. So a lot of the time this gets accepted. Sometimes it's weird and it says, oh, we don't want to link for promotional purposes. But generally, if you try a few times, you can get it to work. You just have to kind of mess with the wording. This tool is changing all the time, just like all of them. And so I encourage you to work with Grok, like literally open Grok in another tab and kind of tell it what's going on and how to fix it. I always mess with ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, all of them. But long story short, guys, we really want to get these media pages for all our clients, their businesses, us as entities, and the entities that we manage. And so if you're on our team, make sure, whatever clients you're managing, to work to get them their own Grokopedia pages as well as their businesses. And when you do, share it with them in Basecamp, which is a tool we use for communication and project management. When you get them their Grokopedia page, just say something simple. Hey, great news. We got you your Grokopedia page. Here it is. If you have any edits, you can suggest them on there or let me know and I will go in there and change them. So we definitely want to show them that this is something really cool that we're doing. Yeah, to my knowledge, not a lot of people are using this. It seems like been a really cool and fun tool for me to use. So let's keep using this as a company. And if anyone else is watching this that isn't at our company, definitely, of course, feel free to use it as well. I'm really enjoying it. And so definitely encourage you guys to go mess around with it, see what you can learn. If you have any tips or anything that you have learned so far, make sure to leave them in the comments. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. See ya.